I'm here today with Paul Johnson, Chief Executive of AIM-listed Power Metal Resources, EPIC code POW, a company that is quite literally discovering large-scale metal deposits all over the world. Paul is here to update us on the latest developments in Q1 this year. Hi, Paul. Good to speak to you again.
Hello, Alan. How are you doing?
I'm very good, thanks. How are you doing?
Yes, not bad, thanks. Not bad.
Excellent. So I said before that aside from the Rio Tintos and Glencores, I don't think that there are many small cap companies developing, surveying and drilling the sheer number of projects that you're currently involved in. We, of course, haven't got the time to discuss all of them today, but can you update us on progress in Q1? If we can start in Australia?
Yeah, sure. We're active, I think, across, in terms of exploration, across 7 of our 9 projects around the world. And we're corporately active in the sense of spin-outs, as we've talked about before, in currently 3 of the 9 projects. Well, actually 4 if you include the 2 projects in Botswana, Ditau and KCB. So yeah. Going to Australia, it's been quite a monumental period for us in recent months because we submitted all these license applications in the Australian Gold joint venture that we have a 49.9% interest in. And we've started to receive the granted licenses. And that's quite an important event because just from a value perspective, a granted license is inherently more valuable than an application. But it also frees you up to start doing ground exploration. And we've indicated to the market that that's what we're doing. We're commencing exploration programs, and we really are pushing ahead. This is not just tinkering, as it were. We're going ahead with a full-on exploration program as our granted licenses open up so we can do work. We haven't, of course, communicated the results to market at this point because it's been early stage in the process. But our aim, as with all of our operational projects, is to get on with the exploration, produce the results for market so they can see what we're finding, and then give them a good indication as to how we're going to take these different interests forward. You know, with Australia, of course, we're taking a core set of the interests in the joint venture into an IPO process with the focus on the Canadian capital markets, and we've talked about that as well. So that corporate work's happening in the background too. But immediately what we're excited about is the exploration progress on the ground.
Excellent. And you've hired a gentleman down there who I believe has vast experience in the area as a geologist and a well-respected field manager in his own right.
Yes, such is our model, really, that we work with teams or individuals in the local areas where we have the projects. It's been a bit of a godsend, really, because over the last year or so, we've not been able to travel around. So you have to have those teams in place to help you. And what we're seeing from the Australian Gold joint venture focused on Victoria, the Victoria Goldfields, is that the team is particularly strong, well versed in local project management, able to get the resources together to do programs, liaise with all the local landowners so that we can have proper strong working relationships with the community. Yeah, we're really buoyed by the progress thus far. What we want to do is start to communicate in more detail what's going on and what the results are, because you know, with exploration companies, it's all about exploration results.
Absolutely. And of course, you also have interest in Western Australia in the Paterson Province. Can you elaborate on those for us?
Yeah, sure. Well, the main thrust of that is the first development resources opportunity that we made an announcement last week to say that we just pushed the option period on a little bit, just to actually the end of this week. So I'm a little bit hamstrung in terms of what I can say about that, but that's a project package focused on the Paterson Province, which is hugely exciting for people after the Greatland Gold and Rio Tinto discoveries up there. And we're just doing the work on that option at the moment. So I can't really say too much more about that, but you know, we will see what happens over the coming days.
Excellent. Okay, so Paul, we're now going to move to Africa and of course Botswana, where you're very active. You have the Molopo Farms project there and the Kalahari copper project, and of course the joint venture with Kavango Resources. We'll also look at the Haneti project in Tanzania a little later. Can you tell us about the Molopo Farms and the work you're doing with the Kavango at the moment?
Yeah, sure. There's a lot to go through, isn't there? I hope you got a few notes there.
Yes.
I have to remember it all, because if I move my eyes around, then people get worried. So in terms of Botswana, we started off drilling the Molopo Farms complex project in Botswana in October 2020 last year. And we had kind of three main set objectives. One was to test the feeder zone geological model. And the drill core that we've had out from 3 drill holes married up with all the historical technical information that's demonstrated to us the feeder zone is the correct geological model, which is a fantastic tick in the box. Yeah. Then we sent some of the samples from hole K16 to the University of Witwatersrand for mineralogical testing, and they confirmed that there were nickel sulfides in the core. So this is where we start to, you know, get very excited about the potential of the project. So we ticked that box as well. And then the results came out from K16 assay testing at the lab at Cape Town, and we found significant nickel intersections. Well, we're almost beside ourselves at this point, because we really are checking the boxes for a successful early stage exploration program. So we've got lots more work to do on it, not just in the future, which is often quoted by resource companies, but right now, because we need to do more mineralogical work, we need to do more assay testing on existing core, we need to do more downhole geophysics analysis, and so on and so forth. So I imagine there'll be a fair old few announcements coming out about that, and we'll see where that one goes. But right now we are thrilled, really, is the only way to describe it, with what we found thus far, and all the team are getting excited and we're pushing on. The Kavango JV, as it were, which is called Kanye Resources, the strategic joint venture, covers 2 projects in Botswana. One is the Kalahari Copper Belt, which is 2 licenses south of the town of Ganzi, about 30-40 kilometers away from the big T3 discovery that I made when I was CEO of Metal Tiger in conjunction with MOD Resources. So we're back in that part of the world. We've been doing soil sampling, and we've been doing various kind of technical work to delineate drill targets for copper silver. Everything's been going very, very well, and we've announced details on the progress, and we just want to crack on and get on with things, to be honest. We have also announced recently that we have an additional 8 licenses in the same area that are under due diligence and could dramatically build the size and scale of the land holding. So it's all go, really, at the Kalahari Copper Belt. Ditau project is the second element to the Kanye Resources JV. Strategic joint venture, and we're doing work at Ditau, and that's focused on rare earths primarily at the moment. So yeah, it's a very active JV. Power has a 50% interest in it, alongside Kavango Resources, which is listed in London with the ticker KAV, and they have the other 50%. And we're just really working full on, regular meetings, regular discussions, lots going on. And of course, the aim is, again, to put that into an IPO vehicle, and so work is being done corporately on the preparation for the IPO.
Superb. So Paul, going to Hernetti now with Katoro Gold. That's obviously 65% owned by Katoro, 35% by Power Metal. What can you tell us from there?
Okay, so that's, again, as with Molopo Farms, this is large-scale nickel sulfide PGM targets. We have been building to this moment. I feel like I've been building to this moment with Hernetti, actually, for about 9 years. I've been following the project for a long period of time. It's a bit like me following Greatland Gold for 10 years before we got that deal in 2016 that unlocked that business. But with the Hernetti project, it's had lots of technical work over the years. And the first step of the drilling process, as it were, was to undertake a rotary air blast program that we did just after, or completed just after Christmas. We had the results from the lab, and that gave us the green light to move into the diamond drilling phase. And that's the point when you can get the discovery, when you put the diamond drill holes into the targets. So we've been able to refine the targets. We've been able to tick off all the boxes to give us that green light. Now we need to crack on with the job and do the drilling. and potentially, we could have a major discovery from it. We don't know until we do the work, but we are going to do the work.
Certainly, all the talk is it's a vast territory, isn't it? And certainly, there's a lot of excitement around the potential there. In size-wise, these are being compared to some of the big finds around the world.
Yeah, our project base is not entirely made up of very large-scale targets, but a large amount of it is, because that's where you get your disproportionate returns for shareholders. There is a challenge in this type of work, though, and that's bringing people with you, because there's, people will sell quite quickly if they don't feel, there isn't an immediate upside to the stock. You do get a lot of good longer-term investors that run with you no matter what happens. And my aim really running the business is to try and encourage people that when they take a position in power, I want them to be able to sleep at night so that they don't have to worry too much. I want them to certainly not worry about discounted financings, which seem to plague the market nowadays, because that's not our approach in the business. If you buy a share in power today, you will not wake up tomorrow to a heavily discounted financing that cuts your legs away and destroys the value of your investment. So that's my personal kind of guarantee, as it were, because that's how I run these businesses. But also, I want you to know that the money that goes into the company will be focused very aggressively on expansive exploration across our interests. And we've only been quiet in 2 of our interest areas, which are both in Canada, because of the winter season, which precludes the ability to do ground-based exploration. Well, of course, spring is kicking in now, so we can crack on there as well.
Well, I was going to say, I'm coming to Canada now. As you know, I did a talk on the Hemlo Gold Belt recently, which has fantastic potential. And of course, we talked about Power Metal having those 4 licenses in the area. And of course, in Canada, you've got the Silver Peak project as well. So can we look at if you could just tell us a bit more about the Hemlo licenses and where we are there so far, Paul?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so we've got effectively 7 licenses. They're in 2 packages. One is called the Hemlo Gold, Hemlo North project, which is adjacent to Panther Metals projects in that part of the world. And then we have 4 separate other projects that are to the west of the Hemlo North package. We tied up the transactions to acquire those interests in Q1. We did it over a number of different announcements because we've been quite busy and we had to stage the due diligence and make sure we did it properly and thoroughly. We've commenced our engagement locally. That's to make sure that we have all the exploration plans developing properly, ready to do work as soon as we can. Very importantly, we've been liaising with the local communities and the First Nations groups because that's absolutely vital that you engage and let people know what you're doing and try to develop positive working relationships, looking after everyone's interests. So all that's happening, and we're just looking forward to moving on with exploration work on the ground, as is our model, as soon as we practically can.
Sure. And of course, as you say, the Thor is starting there, so it makes movement in the area easier, I guess.
It does, yeah. And if you go to British Columbia and look at the Silver Peak project, which is a beauty, really. We acquired this interest back in 2020. I forget the month now, but we've recently accelerated our earning to 30% of that project. And that's primarily because the aim is to take that project into its own listed vehicle. It's the 3rd IPO, as it were. And rather than hang around, we just wrapped everything up, secured the 30%, and we're really looking forward to that. We think there's a real market for high quality silver projects. This was a former high grade working silver mine. The work that we did last year developed some interesting findings, shall we say. The sampling work in the summer, I think we had just under 15,000 grams a ton silver. And we got some great results out of the drill program that we started but didn't finish later on in the year. So we're really all primed and ready to go.
Excellent. So of course, we've got these 3 spin-off companies that are going to be IPO this year. I appreciate you can't say too much, but can you just briefly summarize those 3 again and give us some idea, or give shareholders some idea of what we can look forward to there?
Okay, so just going back a step, our model as a business is to do two things. One is to explore, and the other is to crystallize value where we can. Too long and too often, our business in the junior resource space has been focused entirely around raise money, spend it, hope you find something, raise money again. And I think the business and the shareholders who place their money in companies such as ours deserve better. They deserve management that are putting themselves to task every single day to try and find opportunities for value creation. And that's what we are doing at the moment. So the three spin-outs are deliberately focused on building the balance sheet value of Power Metal Resources so that we become stronger financially. We're pretty good at the moment, to be honest, financially. We've got a good, robust working capital position with cash and listed investments. We think we can add considerably to that by doing the IPOs, where we'll receive shares, warrants, excuse me, royalties, whatever it might be in respect of any disposals. We're aiming to do as many as we can this year, and potentially there could be more as well, from existing parts of our business or from new opportunities in the pipeline.
Okay, excellent. That's a really exciting outlook. And of course, I think you've something like £2.8 million worth of warrants have been exercised since August last year.
Yeah, we've had getting on for £3 million through that, and we've cleared a large amount of the warrant bank out, which is great. Yeah. We've also had an increase in the value of our investments. That's not that's something you can work out with a calculator, really. And we benefited from £2.7 million of financings over the last 2 years. So yeah, it's been pretty good financially.
Super. Okay. Well, Paul, it's been great talking with you again. Before we wrap up, can you provide some pointers for shareholders in Power Metal Resources, what we can expect to see in the second quarter of the year?
I'm losing my voice at the moment, as you can tell.
You're doing well.
More of the same. More of the same. We will not spoof the market. We will just continue to do work. I do find in our business that I see so many times across different companies, there seems to be so little substance and fundamentals. I'm building, in my mind, a mid-tier business. I'm building something that will be of a scale that will kind of belie today's market capitalization. I can't build that by spoofing, by doing one project and just hoping it comes off. I can't do it by diluting people to death with endless financings. So I'm trying to innovate. So we're targeting large-scale discoveries that can be company transformational. And there'll be more news on those. We're targeting IPOs and spin-outs to create considerable value, not just $1 million or $2 million, considerable value to build our working capital. And that will help us to do more exploration, because as working capital is generated, you can invest it back in your own business. And our aim is that as we grow that working capital to a certain extent, that we can start to look at shareholder distributions, which we've announced as well. Yeah. So really, it's just watch out for the regular feed of news and watch as our business matures, because I think if investors buy our stock, hold and have some faith in our commitments and focus, they may well, I hope, do very well indeed.
Paul Johnson, Chief Executive of Power Metal Resources, thank you for joining us again today.
Thank you, Alan.